Hey folks, how you guys doing today? Happy Thursday. Whew, man, had quite the week. I got my second COVID shot, which was really exciting. Super stoked for that. On Monday, I had it in the afternoon, and I felt really good. Monday night, went to bed, it was fine. I did my Tuesday morning class, and right about 1 p.m. or so on Tuesday, like right about 24 hours after I got my shot, it hit me. And I went to bed, slept like 12 something hours. It was crazy. Wednesday was a wash. Did the morning class, but wasn't feeling good all day long. Had a fun meeting in the afternoon, and now we're here today, Thursday, on the crazy day. So I've got my pot of coffee here. Hope you folks are ready. Pull this up here. Uh-oh. It's only like half a mug full. That's disappointing. Maybe we'll make more on break. All right. So, happy Thursday. Cheers. Stay hydrated. All right. So, tons of stuff to still be graded. I apologize. One of these days I'll catch a break, and we'll get to it shortly. I'm sorry. I really do apologize. I know that's no fun to have all this stuff outstandings, but I'm hoping, given the rubrics, you guys, you have a good feeling for how you did, and hopefully it's not super stressful. But I'm happy to chat with you individually if you want to drop by my office hours or something, and I can focus on those ones more directly if you've got concerns about them. And then I did offer to take the final project score, which we're going to talk about tonight. The final project, take that final project score and replace it. Use it in place of. Use that score in place of your lowest scoring individual project. So if you didn't do so hot on one of the individual projects, you can get your final project score, which should be 100%, because we're going to have a whole month to work on it. You should be able to get 100% on that in place of that lowest score. So we'll see how that all shakes out as things go. And then I still got to get those midterms in. It is April already. My goodness. And quite the April 1st with it snowing. That was a treat there. We get some lovely weather. So, wow, we are, what is this, 4/5 of the way through the course now. Today is week 12, I believe, of 15 or 16 technically. So do start planning ahead. We are wrapping up our content rather quickly. We're finally going to get back into graphical user interface applications, which should be a lot of fun. Today, unfortunately, I don't know who did what in 1500, and we're working on standardizing it, but just in case, I'm hoping it's mostly review for you folks from 1500, things that you probably should have done in 1500 with Javafx and using Scene Builder, possibly. But we're going to start that today. Talk about our final project, which will be a graphical user interface application. Okay, so we'll spend 3 weeks talking about GUI topics. Again, kind of an intro, installing all the tools, basic controls, advanced controls, and then graphics, effects, and media, the fun stuff. A little bit of work on design patterns. Nothing you'll need, but it's like nice to know information. And then the rest of the time reserved for the final project work time. And then the plan is, if possible, I'm going to try and get everybody on a Zoom call where we can take turns presenting our final project. I'm hoping it's something that's proud of, that you're proud of, that you can show off and show everyone how cool it is at that final time. If you can't make it because the name of the game has been synchronous optional, then we can arrange to meet individually, or you can send me a recording or something. We've got all sorts of tools. We'll make something work. But it might be nice to see everybody. And I know this is technically an Auburn Hills campus course, which is interesting. I don't plan on driving out to the Auburn Hills campus from my house. It's like a 45-minute drive. So I'm on the other side of the Orchard Ridge campus, the west side of the campus, a little west and north. It might be nice to get back to Auburn Hills at some point, but trying to make that drive out every evening, it sounds like a big pain. But at the Orchard Ridge campus, if you are going to be taking more software engineering courses, you'll probably run into us more at the campus there. Over the summer, we have more remote classes available. So let's take a quick peek here. If there's anything you want to enroll in, I definitely encourage you to get in now, as they are starting to fill up. Not full yet, but we're getting close there. So we get logged in here. We'll take a quick peek at the sections available, and then also you can apply for the Summer Momentum Scholarship. Assuming you were a student in the fall, because you're obviously a student here in the winter, you can get some bucks towards your courses, which is really cool. So go apply for that. I dropped the link in Discord. But other courses, if you're in the software engineering program, you might be taking C++ with Dr. Baugh. They'll be fantastic. He's a real smart guy, real nice. Everyone loves him. Excuse me. Data structures. I'll be doing that one remotely. Same kind of format we've been doing. And the web systems development, PHP and Java, is also one of my courses. We got 11 seats left in that one. 12 left in the data structures course. If there's any other you've got your eye on, let me know. I can take a peek and see how many seats are left. That's info you don't get as students, unfortunately, which I don't understand why. Like, it's super easy to show like how many seats are left, and it's dumb they leave it off, because the other school shows you how many seats are left. So I don't get that, but that's okay. It's not anything I have control over, I guess. Okay, so maybe I'll see you there. I'm hoping to not see you back in 2151 again. That would not be ideal for anyone attending tonight, but that's also an option. But let me know if things are going poorly. We've had a couple folks drop. Oh, it does show? Maybe you just have to log in? Like when I went to the student menu before, it didn't tell me that. Maybe that's through like the registration menu, because I can't actually log in to register, but like when I search for sections. Okay, so I thought I had really cool information, and apparently it's not really cool information, but still. Oh, on the app, okay. Oh, it's showing it now. This wasn't showing it there before. I don't know. Okay, I'm just dumb, I guess. I swear that column wasn't there. I did this like with another class. Okay, well, good to know. So you can see all the seats, so nothing super interesting there. Cool. Yeah, but do sign up. Seats do fill up. And I believe it's rare for them to ever go above 30. So like they have a wait list process, but the only time you get in is if someone doesn't pay and get kicked out, that sort of thing. So do register early. But planning for summer. And then come fall, the plan is still in the works, but the tentative plan is to be in person with restrictions. So we'll see how things are going, I guess, come fall, and what recommendations are. So I don't know if we need to change class sizes or, to support some distancing or what, but we'll figure that out when we get closer to fall. But I'm hoping to see some folks in the fall in person. And I got some good news on Wednesday. We spent way too long in a meeting. They're hoping to move all of the CIS department and business, econ, accounting departments over to L building. We're going to renovate the L building there on campus. Apparently the soonest it would start would be the winter of 2022, because they need to move classes out of that area first, and they don't think they can move them out for fall. So, sure. But they asked me to get some student input into what sort of things you'd like to see in a modern classroom, not these current classrooms we have. If you've ever been on campus at Orchard Ridge and F building, where we've got like 24 computers jam-packed in a tiny little room there, and there's barely room to get in between the rows, and if you sit in the wrong spot, it's kind of hard to see the screen. So they did say we should get some student feedback, which I laughed about and said, yeah, well, it's not going to be done in time for any of my current students to see it. And they said, well, still good input, which is fair. So still good input from you folks. If there's anything you'd like to see in a classroom. One of the things I was excited about is sort of a layout with pods instead of rows and rows and rows of computers. One of the room layouts they presented as an option is like a pod of 6 and a pod of 6 and a pod of 6, and you have 5 of those pods around the edge of the room, and each one of the pods gets like a big screen TV posted right above it, so everyone can see the TV, what's being projected, instead of having to look up front to a single projector. Now, it's a little bit funny because I'd be talking to the back of some of your heads if you just want to watch the TV instead of watching me, but that's okay. I've gotten a little bit used to this, talking to my computer screen here. So I think that is interesting. And then that definitely facilitates group work a little easier there if we're in like pods of 6 and I can break people into groups of 3 or something like that. Because I think 3 is definitely my preferred number. Pairs is okay, but I think 3 is the most interesting. there for working together in teams. 4 is okay, but it gets to be a little heavy, and then it's hard to split up the work sometimes. So I do like groups of 3. I think that works out relatively well. Excuse me. So we've got that coming up. Would love your input on the room, and yeah, we can go from there. Again, that's over at the Orchard Ridge campus. Apparently at the Auburn Hills campus, you guys are getting a brand new building. I didn't understand how all that's working out, but again, I'm new here and not in on any of this stuff. But they're like, hey, this is all the stuff we're doing for your friends over at Auburn Hills in their new building, and we get this renovated building that has possibly elevators that need to be fixed and other issues, and a 3rd floor that's inaccessible except through stairs. And they're like, oh, we'll put your offices up there. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. My daughter's in a wheelchair, and she will be able to see my office, not have to arrange to meet me in a lower downstairs office that I can possibly reserve to meet with students with accessibility issues. That sounds like a bunch of crap. So, but we had a chance to talk with our infrastructure people and the design team, and it was fun. It was a fun meeting, and I got to be the cranky old man, which is so fun to be sometimes. All right, tonight. Javafx. Is there anyone who hasn't done Javafx yet? Like in your 1500 class, did you not do Javafx at all? Did you just stick to Swing? As the book previously would talk about Swing and then Javafx, and this newest version of the book said, here's Javafx, and it had an appendix chapter for Swing, as we're moving generally away from that Swing direction, and Javafx is the new latest and greatest. A little. Okay. So little we might as well have not done it. That's depressing. That is depressing. I would show you some my 1500 class final projects and show them off, but it might take a little while to get those loaded up. But okay. All right. I'm sorry, folks. Did you happen to have the same class together? You don't have to figure that out or like tell each other who you are, but that's okay. So we'll see. So you definitely didn't have me for 1500. I can say that with certainty, but that's okay. I'm new and learning, and I'm going to do some fun stuff. Excuse me. So we're going to go over all the tools that we need because you probably forgot, and that's okay. And all of FX and Swing in one class period, no classwork and no homework. Oh, there's a standard project we're supposed to give, which is part of like our college-wide assessments of our courses. The idea is that if everyone does the same assignment, then it's easy to see how well individual classes are performing, which is generally a reflection on how well it's being taught. And I say generally because I mean it's usually how that works, but occasionally data can get screwed up there if people just bomb it, but that's okay. And the project is supposed to be this like ice cream shop. Oh, showed you the result of that project. They showed you the ice cream shop, but you never did it yourself. Okay, interesting. That messes up how we collect data for assessments, but okay, that's all right. I can deal with that another time, I suppose. So yeah, we're going to do a lot more than that. A lot more than that. Showed some photos of it. Okay, a BMI calculator, sure. So you put some buttons on a screen. That's okay. Yeah, we'll do a lot more. We'll have a lot more fun. I promise. More fun to come. Don't you worry. So I have here in the syllabus, if you guys remember, back from week whatever, 1 probably. Pretty sure 1. I read this. And a text box. Yes, a text box. Buttons. All right, awesome, amazing. That's like the coolest UI ever. Sure. I mean, it was 1500. It's okay. It's your first programming class. You don't need to do amazing, fake dungeon crawler games. That's okay. We can do BMI calculators. So we did NetBeans. We did the OpenJDK. We need the OpenJFX, and we need Scene Builder. Now, 2 things about the OpenJFX. We need the same version as the OpenJDK. These things are tied together. Okay? So when you go to the OpenJFX, you'll notice the only version listed here in downloads, eventually, when you go to download, there we go. is the long-term support version. Don't use this one. This one's garbage, right? Don't worry about this. We don't need that. No good. Okay, skip it. Come down to latest release. This is what we want. We want the latest. We're on version 16 now, which means we need version 16 of the JDK. Okay? Version 16. You can still get 15 of the JDK, but you can't find 15 very easily here. You can go get it somewhere, but don't worry about it. We'll just get version 16, and life is good. Okay? So get version 16 of the JDK. Remember, just download the zip, unzip it, and I like to put all my stuff in that open dev folder. So I have this open dev folder, and I have lots of versions. Not even lots, but I have a couple versions here. What I previously was running on 15 and version 16, because I upgraded when I did this on Tuesday, and I looked really stupid. So version 16 I downloaded both zips and unzipped them into this folder in open dev. You can put it anywhere. Dr. Ball likes a folder called Java stuff. Perfectly fine, right? As long as you know where it is. You know, 8 will work for sure, but we run into licensing issues. Not that you're going to sell anything that you do, but 8 needs, you have to explicitly agree to all the license terms from Oracle. That's Java 1.8. I wouldn't worry about it because you're not selling any of your software, but I'm going to use all the open stuff, especially because I'm putting my stuff out on GitHub publicly. So I'm going to use all the open source versions. So if it works in 8, great. That's fine. Don't sweat it. But all the open versions are better. So download those versions, 16 and 16, and then you're going to want to get Scene Builder. So Scene Builder is our graphical tool for setting up layouts and adding components to things. Mr. Gaddis takes the programmatic approach, which is perfectly fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. My approach is actually going to be to mix and match, where I'll use Scene Builder to set up the basic framework, and then I can programmatically add stuff as I want. So you go get Scene Builder, go download that and install it, and then we're up and running. So then we'll fire up NetBeans, and we'll do a couple things. All right, I'll fire up NetBeans and give that a few minutes, because NetBeans is slow for me. I think I did figure out why my computer is wrong, actually. Or slow, not wrong. I mean, it is wrong, but it's slow. But I think it's overheating. I think I've got too much cat dander or something, I don't know, whatever gets dust that gets into it, because it's 2 years old, and there's not really a good way to clean it out that I know of. Ooh. Excuse me. All right. Sorry, it's still loading here. Let's see. I'm going to see this switch parental control thing is super cool. Nintendo console. Huh. I don't know. I can see how long my son was playing the Switch in his room instead of reading his book like he was supposed to. No, so there's an older version on the virtual desktop, and that's a perfectly fine version to use. I think it's 14. I would have to double check that and log into the VDI to see which version it is. So for what we're doing, the version doesn't matter, but I'm going to use this latest version because that's the one that had easy link to find. And again, it's not the licensed Oracle version, which is fine for academic use. So like the things we do are perfectly fine for it. But again, I would just rather show you the open source thing in case you ever want to go do your own software sort of thing. Come on, that means, yeah, I think the fan on this thing is cranking and it's hot in the back here. So someone had said if you plug in a fan and point it at it, it can really speed it up. I've got my fan. Where did I put that? Did it just fall back there? I had it. Maybe I'll just open my window. That probably won't help, but I'll try it. See if that'll speed my computer up here. It is definitely super slow. Oh yeah, and there shouldn't be any catastrophic. I mean, you can leave whatever your current version is around, and then you can switch to 16 for individual projects if you want. It's not too big of a deal there. Where did I put my fan? Had it. Yeah. Clean up my office. Keep telling myself that. Don't know where it went. I might have taken it downstairs. But here, doing that ought to speed things up for me. All right, so we're going to start a new project. Maybe if NetBeans will cooperate. Like, it's gotten slower this semester, noticeably slower, and I'm not doing anything different, so definitely think it's a thermal issue. Which is nice. I mean, the computer's trying not to let itself break or it overheats and like really damages itself, but like it just slows itself down. It's good for you. Good job. You're slow. I'm on performance mode. All right, it's just going slow. All right, no, don't resolve the problems. Just close the project. Oh dear. Okay, that's not so bad though. It was on for 6 hours yesterday, and like 4 hours today. Ay. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely manually build the stuff, but I'm all about let's let tools do the work for us and make it easier. And what I'll do is I'll actually do like the mix of it. So I'll use Scene Builder to set up a couple pieces, and then I can add in other things that I want. And we'll talk about that tonight. Or you can just use Scene Builder for everything if it's a nice static screen. It works out relatively well, I think. Excuse me. So we're going to start up a new project. So these are the steps we need to do. I'm sorry, before we do that, we need to go to Libraries, and we're going to add a new library. So I called mine Javafx 16, because that's the version there. Like I could add an underscore here, sure. And we say OK. And in here, then we're going to add a bunch of jars. So a jar is just a bunch of Java files all put together. So I'm going to go up to my C OpenDev folder, and you go find that JFX SDK, and you open that one up, and you add all the jar files inside of lib. You go to the lib directory, not the source zip, but all the jars. All those ones, you just grab all of them, shift-click them all, and you add them. That's saying, okay, now with a single import, I can add all of these at once here, which is really nice. So we add all those to our class path. And we say, okay. So that sets up the Java libraries. Okay. Hopefully you've done that already, but let's see. Excuse me. I have to get my wife this Nintendo Switch app. Once that's done, now we can start a new project. And instead of Java with Ant, we're going to open up this one here and say Javafx. And right now, NetBeans, it sometimes gets confused and doesn't even know it's there. And you have to go do this again for whatever reason. Right now it says it's not enabled. We need to press next to enable this feature. That's the step we need to do so that NetBeans thinks it can do Javafx stuff. So we say next, and it goes and does all of its feature stuff, which is great. But it's not actually going to let us create the project if we're using all the OpenJDK stuff. And that's okay. It's not too bad of a workaround. We're getting there. It's going to activate it. Maybe it'll activate it. We're getting there. Come on, let's go, NetBeans. There we go. And now it complains, and that's okay. Once it does that step, it's okay. It won't let us create a project because it doesn't know that we actually have all this stuff installed, and it's okay. Don't worry about it. No big deal. So we're going to cancel. Then we're going to go back and just make a regular Java project. Java with Ant. See how it's all lit up now? It's not gray anymore. It's awesome. We're all set. Go back just to a regular Java application. And we'll call this one the evening GUI hello world. Hello world. Okay, and we'll let that project start up. And there's a couple more things we're going to do to get this project set up. Once it loads. Just a couple things. We'll do it for every project, and it won't be so bad. We'll leave some notes, and we'll basically have a template to fill out every time. So once we have project, oh goodness, it's almost there. We're going to go to properties of the project, project properties. Okay, and then two things here. In libraries, we need to go to the run location, and we're going to add to the module path the library of the JavaFX version 16, or whichever version we're using, right? The one that matches. Okay, we add that to the module path. Then in the run menu, there's this VM options. We're going to add something here, and I forget what it is, so give me a second while I go steal it from earlier. 51. I'll have it in here in a second. Here we go. We add this line here, this add modules, and we tell the Java virtual machine that when it runs, we need JavaFX controls and JavaFX FXML. Say add these modules when we go run. And you say OK. And I'll write all this down. Don't worry. We'll have a little step-by-step guide for this. Not as bad as it sounds, I promise. Okay. Then we open up the project here, and we go to libraries. And we're going to add a library to the project libraries here. We're going to add one more time that JavaFX library. So we add the FX library to the project libraries. We add it to the module path, okay, in the properties, and then we add those VM options. So I essentially have that here, and I'll just copy that in because that makes life easier. Look at that. How cool is this? Just throw that in there. So go to the libraries in the project, add the Java, right-click the project, go to the run, add this to the VM options. Oops, that's that line here. And then make sure our JDK platform and the JFX versions match, or whatever version you're using. And then you add in the run tab JavaFX to the module path. Yeah, unfortunately, you'll need to set this every time you start up a new project. It's not too bad, though, I promise. You know, it's just a couple clicks, a couple things to get used to doing. Okay. Then we're all set. And then what we can do is we can say, hey, my project extends application. And it's going to ask you, oh, what application do you want to reference? And there's a right option and a wrong option here. So make sure you pick the right option. Add the FX option, not the ComSun Glass UI, the JavaFX application. We're going to add an import for that. Okay, so we're going to extend application here. And it says, oh, wait, you don't override the abstract method start. Well, I say, yes, I do. I did it right here. I think it's confused. I think it's just confused. Now you got to add some more imports. There's a couple other imports. All of the FX imports you want here. Okay, FX. Okay. And then one more time for the other one. Or you could just go and copy paste all those imports from your example as well. That will also save you a little bit of time. Okay. So you could just grab all those imports as well. You don't have to let NetBeans do that. You could copy paste this in off the example here. Okay. Now we're almost set. We are about ready to start our FX program. Okay, so just a few minutes of setup there. Nothing too terribly bad, right? It didn't scare you off yet. And I will make another YouTube video I promised Dr. Baugh I would put one together that shows how to install the tools, how to start your Hello World project. I was like, oh, I could probably use the one from class, but I kind of wander a lot, so I'll try and just record just an easy one, because he has one out there, but it's like from version 13, because he did it a couple years ago, which is fine as long as you use the latest version, but we might as well have a nice new recording anyway. So I'll do that. I saw someone shared this link from a local news station. They said Governor Whitmer has extended the school year through August 31st to make up for all the time and the remote learning and all this stuff. And I think that's the best April Fool's Day prank I've seen today. I've seen some terrible ones, and I think that was probably the best one I've seen, because you could almost believe it. I think that's what makes it a good prank, is it's almost believable. So anyway, back to our FX stuff. So now we're about ready to go. Now what we want to do, we've got this really cool line here, and this is where the magic happens. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go to our project, and we're going to say we want a new empty fxml file. If you don't have this, you probably have to go back to new project and pick an FX project to make it load up all those modules, to remember that it knows how to do fxml stuff. NetBeans is a fun tool, but sometimes it forgets things. It likes to act stupid. So we'll add an empty fxml file. I'm just going to call it fxml because that's easy. Sure, why not? Now these options here are important. We're going to say next. Now I do want this use Java controller option. Using the controller in fxml is amazing, right? It's going to set up so much code for us automatically. It's amazing. You're just going to love it, okay? So we want to use the controller. Default names are fine. Perfectly good. Next, we don't care about cascading style sheets. That's really fancy stuff we can do. We'll talk about that in chapter 14, I believe. For now, we don't care. We're not going to use it. Okay. Unfortunately, one of the things I am not good at is making things pretty. So I don't do pretty things in the web. I don't do pretty user applications, graphical user interface applications. I do functional things. And that's all I expect from you folks. If you want to do pretty things that are really usable and nice, you can go study that. There's a whole specific field of study called human-computer interaction or heuristics, which is super cool. Like really important, good stuff, so that you don't do a stupid thing like Tesla and put the wiper controls on a touch screen and cause someone in Germany to crash and sue you. Okay, don't do that. Like, not everything needs to be on a stupid touchscreen menu, right? Like, if you need to do your wipers, you need to be able to do that quickly, so you can clear off your windshield so you can see where you're going, right? Not have to dive through 3 different menus on your touchscreen where your eyes are not on the road. So please, some people obviously should study human-computer interaction and learn how to make good UIs, but that's not the focus, right? We're still learning tools and techniques and trying to apply these cool things to solve fun problems. Okay, so we just say finish. So it's going to make an fxml file and a fxml controller Java file. Okay, then the next thing we want to do, you go to Tools and Options. This I learned today. It used to work for me, and then it stopped working, and I just forgot about it. So if you go to your Tools and Options and go to Java, there's a tab here for JavaFX. One of the things you can do is tell it where is Scene Builder installed. If you tell it where Scene Builder is installed, so when I installed Scene Builder, I said, where do you want to install it? And I said, put it in my OpenDev folder, because why not? If you put it in program files, just go find it in the program files. Perfectly fine. Go tell it where it is. Then what you can do, you can right-click on your file and say Open. If you say Edit, you get default view. There's no Open by default, it just edits. You get to see this ugly XML, which doesn't play nicely with dark mode. But all these imports, who cares, right? They're all just there. We don't need them. Right? This is the fxml file. An fxml file is just a fancy XML file. Right? XML is just the extensible markup language. So we get open tags and close tags, right? And we get a bunch of attributes. That's all it is. But what Scene Builder lets us do is it lets us generate this. We don't have to type this stuff out by hand. Please don't do that. Sure, you're welcome to it. Perfectly fine. Go for it. I'm going to be lazy in the efficient way and let the tool do it for me. So I'm going to right-click and say Open. And if I told it where Scene Builder lives, it's going to go open Scene Builder. The other option is to hit Start, go launch Scene Builder, and tell Scene Builder to go open the file and go find it in your GitHub directory, see users, your username, GitHub, your project directory inside of source, inside of yada, 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 all that good stuff, which is okay. That works too, but I'm a big fan of shortcuts. I love when the tool does the stuff for me. And this is it. This is Scene Builder with the fxml file. Now, I'm going to recommend you don't call them fxml.fxml because you're going to get confused really quick as to which file's which, right? So give them a nice name usually. This is just examples, doesn't matter. And what you get in fxml is a list of things you can just drag and drop wherever you want them. This is the magic, okay? So we're going to look in controls. I want a button, and you can drag it anywhere you want on the screen. It's got a lot of cool, like, hey, it's going to snap to the middle. It'll put it different places. Sure. A lot of different helpers here for how we build these graphical user interfaces. And then on the right, anytime you click something over on the right, you get all of these options. There are oodles of options, and this is all stuff you could put manually in the XML or fxml here, or we just get to click. Right? This is why this tool is so much better. Okay, so the text of the button, I want it to say, click me. Right? Okay. That's it. That's all we need. There's also layout. There's also code. That's fine. If we're never going to touch it in code, we don't need anything else. I'll show you the next thing we need is a label. Label is where you put text, usually. So labels are for text. Just kind of keep that in mind. It's not called text. It's called label. Okay. There's a text area or a text field. Text fields can be typed in. Text areas can be typed in. So we use labels for things that users don't type in. And if you just want to show some text, it's a label. Okay, sure, we'll drop that in. I want to take all the text out of the label. And now all of a sudden it looks like it's gone. Uh-oh, how do I go find this thing again? Well, I could get lucky and click on it, or don't worry, over on the left over here, you have the list of all of the things in your page. I can go click back on label, and it's going to bring it back for me. Okay, so don't ever worry. You can always get back to it here from label, or over on the left in your document view. Now, if you want to be able to interact with this in code, we need to go to the code section. Right, makes sense. It's got this cool field called an FX ID. We're going to use this ID in our FX code. Okay, so I'll call this my text label. I don't know. Some people love putting the word label in here because it's a label, and they name their button something button. I kind of like that because as I'm typing in NetBeans, I can type in label and it will show me all of the labels. That's all. Doesn't actually matter which one it is. So I'll call that one a label. Okay. That one's got a name now, or an ID now. The next thing I need to do, I forgot on button, we do want to do something in code here. It doesn't need an ID because I'm never going to reference it, but what I need is an on-action handler. Now, if you remember back to graphical user interfaces, they are not an application that runs your line of code from top to bottom with loops and if switches and ifs and elses and all that other good stuff, but it doesn't go top to bottom and finish. What a graphical user interface does is it loads, and then it waits for you to interact with it. So we'll call that, it's event-driven. Anytime you interact with it, we're triggering an event. So what we do here is we add event handlers. How do we handle the event? Well, the event we care about is action, which is essentially click. When you click a button, you're triggering this action. So we say, well, what do I want this to be called when I trigger an action? Oh, we'll call this like button clicked. Again, these should be method names here. So follow your method naming camel case here. No spaces, all that good stuff. All right, cool. So I'm going to call it that. Life is good. Sorry. Just getting some messages here. All right. Okay, got button clicked. Okay, then we're done. So now I need to save. Make sure you save. You'll get this little blue bar when it saves. I like Control S for save, or you can also go File Save. Okay. Now we come back. Now here's where the magic happens. Right now the controller file, if you open this up, is empty. Nothing in here. What we do, once we've made our changes in Scene Builder, we come back to NetBeans and we right-click on the fxml file and we say Make Controller. And it goes to our controller code and it adds a bunch of stuff. Magic. It adds all of the imports that is needed, and anything we gave an FX ID to, it adds as a private attribute of the class. More magic. Okay, we don't need to worry about initialize for right now. We can do more things with that later. Don't worry about it. And then we'll see it adds a method here called button clicked. That's the name we gave that action handler, and it responds to an action event. So anytime this method is called, it's given the action event that it can respond to. This is the event, and we need to do something. Now in our case, we know that this button only has one event handler, right? And it's only going to do one thing. So we're going to take that label, right, my text label, and I'm going to call set text. There's a bunch of methods you can call. Set text, you can set any property programmatically, all sorts of amazing things. Mostly we're just going to set text because we're boring. And we're going to say, hello world. That's it. So we say when this button is clicked, this is how we want to handle that event. This is what the program will do in response to being clicked. That's it. So if we want to go back here and go to edit, we can look at the XML, the fXML again. We'll see it added children. There's a list of children, and it added a button at this location. And the action is this button clicked method here, and it has a text property, and then there's a label with an ID and where it is here. Okay? You could have done this all by hand. Sure, why not? Or we could have let Scene Builder do it. Totally up to you. Either one's okay. Right, so we have a controller. We have the fXML page. Hey, Bug Finder, welcome on in. And then the magic here on our start method that we're overriding, we say, hey, fXML loader, load this get class, get resource. So load this resource, get the class from it, right? And load that up as our parent. You know, I haven't done a lot with the Spring framework. I've heard good things. I've, dabbled, done some intro level stuff, but nothing, never used it professionally for anything interesting. All right, and then remember with the Javafx, we have this idea, we have a scene that everything runs on. So like the scene then is what is showing on the stage, and the stage can have multiple scenes, but the stage is like the window, and you put scenes on top of that. So it kind of uses the idea of like a play as a metaphor for how we design these things. And scene, what we're saying is, hey, scene should have this fXML thing. I like it. It's a great tool, and then you get some graphical tools like Scene Builder. So I'm a big fan of JavaFX. Swing is fine. I used to use Swing for years, and I taught Swing, did a lot of stuff in Swing, and I was fine with it. But we didn't have cool tools like Scene Builder. So I'm a big fan of tools that make my life easier. So you tell the stage the name of the title. This one's optional, but this way it looks nice. Gooey, gooey, gooey. You set the scene. You tell it what scene, and then you show. You say, okay, like open the curtains. So we give this a run. We should get a graphical user interface application. You can use XML, so it's very similar to HTML. So here's our title, gooey, gooey, gooey. Right, we saw that. And we get the button, and when I click it, the text shows up, hello world. Again, setting text to hello world doesn't change it previously from hello world, so that one doesn't do a whole lot of stuff. What we could do, if we wanted to for fun, is we could have a string for current text, is my label, text label.getText. We can get the current text, and then we can have a string for like new text equals the current text plus a new line, right? We like new lines, plus hello world again, if you wanted. And then we can set the text, txt, set the text. Instead of just hello world, we could set it to, it should be the current text plus new lines and hello world. Yeah, it's just whatever style. You can apply all sorts of styling to it. This is just defaults, because defaults are easy. And we're all about easy. Let's give this a run. So now every time we click it, we should be appending text. Right? So I get hello world, new lines. Notice there's no scrolling happening here, but like I can drag my window down and I see it here. Some of the controls around window sizing are a little funky. It's like you can shrink it and there's nothing there. Like the button doesn't move. So there are a few downsides to using these like fixed sizing. Oh no, I double clicked it. Where it says, hey, I wanted the edit button. I wanted this one. You tell it, hey, it lives at this X and this Y, where the top left here is 0, 0. And the bottom right is whatever it happens to be, whatever size here. So this is 274 pixels out and 151 pixels down, essentially. That's what that's doing for us. Okay? That's just the anchor pane. Anchor pane is the default here. And we get lots of other cool things we can do in Scene Builder we're going to look at in a minute. And it's all like tags here. Tags with attributes. It's very similar to HTML. No, it's not like JSON. No. XML is very much like HTML. Okay, so that's our basic here. So hopefully this was a review of stuff you may or may not have seen then in 1500. Hopefully they at least showed you some of this stuff rather than here's the BMI calculator or whatever. Or maybe you built a BMI calculator, right? And we could have done that by hand too, I guess. Right? Added some buttons and whatnot. That's always fun stuff. Okay, so we'll look at, we'll take a break in just a second here because we're, the next topic will take a little longer and I don't want to have to break in the middle of it. So we'll prep for a break in a second. And all right, so we'll look at other basic controls and other layouts. Yeah, all the stuff gets exported on YouTube. If you do exclam YouTube, you should get the link there. Oh, and I can update that command. I'm so excited. Thanks to you fine folks here, I now have 100 subscribers. So I can go to youtube.com/c/Eric Chernesky, and that works. How amazing is that? So I'll go update my Nightbot channel, my Nightbot command, because you don't have to use that nasty URL anymore. You can use a nice custom one because I have 100 subscribers. You folks are awesome. Let's go update that. So excited. Edit YouTube. Look at that. Boom. Custom URL. Amazing. Yeah, exclam class if you want some more information there, Palindrome. All right, we got our books. Awesome. Yep, I think that's all the good stuff there. Cool, got all my commands. Hey, thanks, Crow. How you doing? Yep, so there's the channel. I got all the courses in playlists here. Got some previous past courses. So hoping to keep all this out here and archived, which is awesome. So it should be fun. All right, so that's our little Hello World example. We'll come back to this after break. We'll do some more fun stuff with it. And let me throw some music on here. Not Roblox, no, Groove. Groove music player. My kids got into Roblox. They were having all sorts of fun with that. How are they doing on their stock price, though? They just had their IPO or whatever it was. RBLX? What was it? Roblox? It's in Robinhood. Stocks. Wasn't RBLX? Nope, not SB. RB. I think it was RBLX. See how it's doing. Or maybe there's an O in there. RBLX? Yeah. Yeah, definitely really competitive programming. I was the coach, not this current year, but last season, before everything shut down, for the team over at U of M Dearborn. I was filling in for the usual prof who died. He had coached them for years and years and years. It's not anything I'm good at, but I could do some of it. Yeah, ICPC. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We did decently, not great, but we didn't do a whole lot of practice or anything. It was one of the student organizations threw something together and said, hey, we want to go do this. Oh yeah, they're down a little bit from their initial offering, so not too bad though for Roblox. So maybe it's still a hot thing, who knows. All right, anyway, let's take a break. We'll come back in 10 minutes and we'll go from there. Alrighty, folks, welcome on back. Sorry, I had to a really good piece of chocolate caramel kids made. It was really good, but it needed a glass of milk to kind of wash it down. So that's not the kind of thing that goes well with coffee, unfortunately. All right, so we're back talking more about FXML. That's because I'm wearing my hat right now. It's all about the hat. So, oh goodness. We can close all that. I don't need any of those comments. No, thank you. That's good. All right. So, other things we can do. I mean, we kind of saw that this button just kind of hangs out, doesn't resize well at all. So, typically we don't recommend, and we, me, Gaddis, I mean, all sorts of people, don't recommend just throwing things on the anchor. Okay. Usually what we want to do is we want to kind of have this this nested grouping of controls. So there's containers here, and we put things inside of containers. Those are typically how we go about this here. There's a lot of common ones. The grid pane is a really handy one if you're doing everything in grids, because it just gives you nice rows and columns. H boxes are nice. They're horizontal boxes, or V boxes are vertical boxes. I'm partial to the border pane myself, because I like that one. So I'm actually going to get rid of these buttons and this label. Just go ahead and delete them. Oh dear, it has an FX ID. Yes, so hey, if you delete them, your source code has to get updated. Yes, okay, that's a nice warning. Sure, it's going to blow away my source code. That's okay. So I'm going to take a border pane. I'm just going to drag and drop this here into my anchor. So what I want is I want the border to be the main pane that everything is on. I'm just going to kind of stretch it out here. Oh, come back, border pane, and fill up this space here. Sure. That looks about right. Now, border pane, you can open up the document over here and see it has a top section, a left section, a center section, a right section, and a bottom section. Oh, you know, I've actually never used IntelliJ. I've heard good things, but we've been using NetBeans on campus, and we use it for all of our other Java style development for PHP and things, and so that's all. The guy who's smarter than me, my department chair, Dr. JP, is a big fan of NetBeans, so I usually trust the people who are smarter than me. There goes all the coffee. All right, so in the border pane, now we put things in these sections. And now we can just drag and drop stuff. So if we want, we can put a button back. And you can also use the search feature here. It's nice. I like to kind of scroll and see things because I think that's fun, but you could just like start typing button and it's going to find the button for you. And we can pick, hey, do we want it in the top? Do we want it in the center, the right, the left, the bottom? So let's put this one in the center here. No, I don't want a theme. I don't care. I don't need a theme. Oh, did I grab the wrong button? Is it not a button? Oh yeah, that's okay. Nope, I'm sorry. I grabbed button navigation. Bottom navigation button. That's not what I want. I want a button. There we go. Let's drag a button in here. That's why that pop-up was there. That was weird. Okay, and we'll change this one here to, let's go to properties and change it to click me. All right, we got a click me, and then let's take a label here. Let's go search for label, label, and let's drop this one in here. Label, come on, come with me. Oh my goodness, there we go. All right, and now you'll notice I can't drop it in the middle, which is weird. So the funny thing about these containers is that a container can only have one thing. So it's a little funny to put a button right in there because it can only hold one thing. What we would typically do is put another container inside of that and then put an item inside that container. But, you know, it's okay to do it this way. It's not going to hurt anything, and I only need the one spot. Let's go back to my code here. We'll call this our text label. Here we go, and we'll go back to our button, and we'll go add action. This is our button clicked. Look at that. Button clicked. Cool, and we'll give that a save. Changes are saved. And now we can come back. Now we need to regenerate the controller. So every time you make changes to it, you want to come and make controller. Now our controller probably didn't change, right? Because we put the same things back that we had before. But just in case, or if we added new stuff, I always want to make that controller. So now we'll have this different layout. It's not going to look a whole lot different, but we've composed it differently. So like if we look at the XML here, in anchor pane, we added a border pane. In the center and the bottom, we added other things here. So click, 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 click. Now this one actually resizes a little bit. So border pane behaves a little differently than the other ones do, which is kind of fun. Yeah, eventually we can use initialize. Think of it kind of like a constructor, but we don't need to for this. Okay. So what's fun is like this will take up space and kind of move itself around. So again, it takes a little bit of trial and error to play with these and see kind of where they expand into what, but generally we like that, and there's nothing wrong with it there. Oh, I got negatives here. So you can also change the XML directly, or the fxml. So I want to put that at 0, and at 0. Uh-oh. What does it want to do? Oracle.com? For DigiCert? Why is it trying to go to Oracle? I don't... Sure. DigiCert? Sure. Okay, I don't know what it was doing. Some kind of update. And I'll change its height to 400 and 600 to match. There we go. So again, you can change stuff if you want there. That's okay. And I just need to go and I want to close this one. And I'll reopen it. Just make sure I saved my changes. We'll go back and open it again. You can kind of mix and match. You can change it in the XML, fxml, you can change it in Scene Builder, and go back and forth as needed. But it probably shouldn't look any different here. I just kind of fixed that corner there to make it at the right corner. So it wants to default to 400 by 600. That's kind of our preferred height and width. Not a super large user interface or anything. And here it is. All right. Oh, I could have changed it in Scene Builder too, but that's fine. So if I wanted, maybe over on the left, I could put, say, a vertical box. So let's add a vertical box to the left here. And I'll add another vertical box over on the right. Here, add a vertical box over on the right. And then maybe we add a horizontal box instead. Maybe let's do this. Let's add a horizontal box to the top. And then I actually want to take this label here. I want this label, and I want to move it for now. I'm going to put it inside the box. Inside the horizontal box there, and I'm going to add another horizontal box to the bottom. Okay. We'll give that a save. We'll come back over, regenerate it, all those new things here, which is cool. And they have their own preferred heights for the boxes and things. And they'll try and take up space. Let's give that a run again. And you can see it all kind of the same document view you can see over here in NetBeans as well. So click me. So this is actually in the top box, right? My text label is in the top horizontal box, but in a horizontal box, stuff is added from left to right. It's kind of fun. So we just keep on expanding, and now we kind of lost the view, right? We don't really see the text showing up anymore. It's not resizing that one for me as well. So just be a little careful here. And I mean, most of the time you're not going to just keep slamming text on the screen anyway. These are kind of silly examples just to show you some of these layouts. Okay. So let's move that. Let's go back here and let's move that label back to the, how about we put that one maybe in the left here. Let's see what happens over here in the left for fun. Okay. Give that a save. Give it a run. So the controller didn't change. I didn't need to regenerate the controller. All we did was move things around graphically. And when it runs, it's going to pick up that fxml automatically, which is fun. Right, so we're still, that one's not really scrolling either. So like once you have things in place, they don't necessarily resize as much because there's really no place for it to go. on the left and the right, because we have things in all of those quadrants. Or not quadrants, all of the top, bottom, left, and right sections. Okay. Now what we could do, and what Mr. Gaddis does here, let's forget all of this here. Let's not change any text. Let's do this. Let's make our own here. So we'll say, hey, I want a label. This is a new label equals a new label. And a label, you can give it some text, like hello world. It creates a label. And then if we want to add this somewhere, right? Now I can't get at any of those boxes because I didn't give them names. So what I need to do, I need to come back here and I'm going to give all of these boxes FX IDs. This is the top box, right? This one down here is the bottom box. This one over here is the right box. That one, there we go, right box. And this one over here is the left box. And I'm actually going to take this label out. Let's just delete this little label from over here, because we're not going to use it. Sure, delete the label. Okay, so I just gave names to all of those. I'm going to save it. Now I want to come back and remake the controller. So I'm going to say make controller, and regenerate it for me. Okay, so now you'll see all those boxes showed up here. And they have this attribute, this tag fxml, that we are linking this back to our fxml file, these attributes. So writing these by hand is really obnoxious, but it's doable. And the other textbook we're going to be switching to come fall, which I'm sorry for you folks, you didn't get it, but come fall we'll be using a cheaper textbook. And I think it's just as good, actually. And he's got some good examples and things. It's from Muroc. He uses his books for some other courses. So we'll be switching over to that instead of this expensive Gaddis book, because I'm a little upset with Pearson and just how much they charge for things. So that's just me. Anyway, so now that I have these boxes, I can add things to them programmatically. So I make a label in code. So I say programmatically like I'm doing it in code here instead of, with a visual drag and drop tool. So let's take that top box, and to get at it, remember a container holds a bunch of things. So what it holds is children. So you can say get children, which gives you this observable list of nodes. And we'll talk more about observable lists next chapter. Don't worry too much about it here. But what you can do is once you have the children list, you can add to it. And I can add anything that is a node. And turns out labels are nodes, right? We'll add the new label. Okay? Let's give that a try. So it's going to add a label for Hello World, and we're going to add it to the top box, which is a horizontal box. So every time I add something, it's just going to start stacking it horizontally. It just keeps on stacking the labels horizontally over and over and over. And notice now, once it reached its size, it sort of like shrinks them down automatically. It tries to make everything fit. So what it does is it's telling the labels to be smaller and smaller and smaller, and hell, oh, he, H, dots. Right? So, I mean, at some point, it's not helpful that it tries to resize these things, but that's okay. Don't worry too much about it, because we're not going to do anything nonsensical like that and just add labels over and over and over and over. Just kind of illustrating the boxes try and adapt the things inside of them to have different sizes. Okay? Now, wouldn't it be cool if we could pick which box we put this little label in? And we could do that. So I'm actually going to get rid of the click, or let's just move the click me button for a minute because I want to put it back. I need an open space here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put, say, let's do a grid pane because grids are fun. I'm going to put a grid pane in the center. And the grid pane, I want to have 3 by 3. Let's do that. So I need, oh goodness, where's the rows and columns? No. Add column, doesn't matter. Sure. Okay, now we're at 3 by 3. So each one of these little grids at row and column, like a two-dimensional list, right, we can add something to. So I'm going to put my button back here in my grid pane, and I want to put it in the center grid here. And let's see, we want this center grid. Can we align this differently? Where's our align here? Alignment. Yeah, it says center. That's not doing what I wanted. horizontal alignment, center. There we go. So horizontal alignment, we want to center things that go in here. All right, and then on this one, we want the vertical alignment to center. Okay, so we've got our button still. It's inside of this grid, and then what I want to add is I want some radio buttons. Now, a radio button, if you remember, hoping you talked about these in 1500, only one can be picked at a time that are in a group. I added some radio buttons here, to there, to there. Okay, so I have to get, like, it turned into the hand icon for me to click and drag. That's what it is. There. And there. There we go. Oh, come on. Where's my horizontal alignment? Center. I want this to look kind of pretty, right? Center these things. Why not? All right, so they're all centered. All right. Then I need to give them, change their text here. So let's say this is the top. This one here should say right. This one here should say bottom. And this one over here should say left. I know you're like super excited. Left. This looks super cool. So again, what I'm doing here, I'm trying to use a mix of Scene Builder to set up the static stuff, and then we can use the programmatic approach to add things that are dynamic. And we'll kind of do that as we're working on our final project. We can set up the main layout here in Scene Builder to make things easy for us. And then when we want to add and remove things, we can do that inside of code. Okay, that's what that's all about. All right, now we need to go give them IDs. So this is the top button. This one is the right button. This one is the bottom button. This one is the left button. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself just a little bit here, but don't worry too much. We'll get to radio buttons again next chapter, but I wanted to do this because I think this is fun. All right, we'll come back and let's make a controller again. Gonna add all that other stuff to our controller. Right, we have a bunch of radio buttons now. Okay, now inside of our code, we need to figure out which one is checked. So let's go ask them. So we'll say if top button dot is checked, is selected. Is that it? Is checked? No, selected. Is selected. There we go. If it's selected, let's add that to our top box dot get children. Get, and for some reason it doesn't show up in the type ahead, which drives me nuts, but that's okay. Add the new label. Else if it's not the top button, how about the right button? Right button is selected. Then let's add this to the right box. Okay, and else if it's not the top, it's not the right, let's check the bottom, and we'll check the left. So bottom button, and bottom box, and the left button, and left box. Okay, let's give that a shot. So the idea is, whichever button I've selected, I'll add that label to that direction. Right, whether or not the top, the bottom, the left, the right. Check out this scab here that's driving me nuts. It's super itchy. I was picking at it earlier and it got really bad. All right, so none of them are selected, so it doesn't do anything. I pick top, and now I get a message in the top. Let's try left. I get a message in the left. Oh, oh dear, they're not grouped. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Right, left, nothing. Have a small problem here. That's okay. That's all right. Let's come back and fix it. We need to have all of these radio buttons in a group. So they all need a group. So the toggle group here we'll call the direction. So a toggle group is what binds these buttons together to say one and only one of these can be selected. If you don't tell them they're part of a group, they don't know any better, right? You can have multiple groupings of radio buttons. So it's not going to default put them in a group. So I need to put them in a group myself here. And let's give that a try. I should have changed our fxml here. I should have just added a little here. Let's see. That's our column constraints. Here's our button. It added a where is it here? Radio button, top button, toggle group. There we go. It added a toggle group. That's what we wanted. So now I can have one picked at a time. Top or left, or bottom or right. And I'm just going to keep on adding them to that direction there. Okay. So we just got to pick where we add these things. Is that kind of fun? That looks super fun, right? How you folks feeling? Again, not anything super practical. We're just having some fun playing with these containers and putting containers inside of containers and putting objects inside the children of containers. Just exploring it, playing with it a little bit. Okay. Now what's fun though, this one resizes a little bit here. Look at that. So those ones resize. They don't resize horizontally though, right? Eventually you just get hell. Sure. E, high, H, dot, 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 dot. Okay, so they'll behave a little bit differently. There's some properties and things you can change about that. There's nothing really worth going into right now. Okay, it goes grow sometimes. Sure, that's fun. Why did that line up funny? Should be there. Okay. It bugs me when stuff doesn't line up right. That's okay. We'll give it a format. All right, so I think we're good now with the recap. Again, just use this like template here and just copy paste it, right, every time, and then you'll know exactly what you need to do. Just a couple steps to set up your FX. It's not too terrible. If you have version 1.8 installed, and that's fine. I'm not going to dissuade you from that, and you're perfectly fine with the academic license, right? Oracle will let you use it academically. They're not coming after you. Okay, but I'm just going to use the open source one. I don't want to deal with any of that nonsense and have to prove to Oracle that, hey, I'm still streaming on Twitch, but it's really an academic thing and I'm not making money off of it because I'm donating it to the scholarship fund and all that nonsense. So not that I think that'll happen, but I don't have a lot of trust in Oracle. I was really kind of sad when they bought Java, because then they went and did this licensing thing, which is not even an expensive license. Like, it's not like they're making oodles of money off of it, but it just kind of irritated me because it was not in the spirit of Java. So that's all. And then meanwhile, Microsoft is, open sourcing .NET and making .NET Core run across platform and doing all the things Java does, but better. So, but anyway, you can learn all about that if you take the C# class. You can do that fun stuff in another class. All right, so why don't we change gears here and talk about the final project that is the last thing in the course, which also is 25% of your overall score. In addition to, I can replace your lowest scoring individual project from the semester. So, presenting on 429 or by appointment with me or recording if necessary. We'll figure that out when we get there. We don't have all that many people in the class, so I think if we each take like 5 minutes to show our game, it should be fine. And besides, after you've seen like 10 of them, you get bored of seeing them again. But it's kind of fun to see if everyone designs it just a little bit differently. Everyone puts their own little spin on what it looks like and that sort of thing. And that's kind of fun. All right, so we close this down. Oh, yes, save. Overwrite. Oh, it changed the XML. That's fine. That's okay. All right, so let me commit all that code out to GitHub before I forget. And then in terms of quizzes, I don't really have any good questions to really ask about GUI applications. They're really boring for quiz style questions. Because it's like, hey, what's this tool, or what's this widget do, or something like that. So we'll be done with the chapter quizzes. And I'll finish getting the rest of those graded along with the midterm for you shortly. Don't want this test. I was playing with something and I forgot. I just need to get rid of it. I want to keep it for now. Okay. There is the evening GUI. All right, what was that? All right, so the final project. And again, you are welcome to pair up with someone. You can even pair up with someone in the morning session if you're so inclined. Totally up to you folks. Or you can do it individually. That's okay. Again, I would usually assign this as a group project or pair project, but given our circumstances, we're just going to avoid that. Yeah, I didn't get your project 1 graded. Oh, I'm so far behind, folks. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. All right, this is our final project due by 6 p.m. on the 29th. 6 p.m. Okay, for the final project called Final Project. 25 points or so. Okay, and if you give me just a second, I need to go grab some details here. And I will shamelessly copy paste because that's the name of the game. If you're not new here, that's no surprise that I'm copy pasting, right? Definitely not a surprise there. All right. Here we go. Surprise! We are going to do Blackjack. Pull up the Wikipedia page here. Wikipedia. What? Okay, copy paste doesn't work. That's okay. Blackjack. It's probably in there. Ooh, the Warbone Gaming Dice Tray. I'm really, really excited. I want to buy it. I've kept talking myself out of it. One of these days, I'm just going to buy it for myself. I have the matching dice tower here. I got on one of their, like, you get surprised with what type of wood they pick for you. I think they call it the roll the dice or something. I was super excited. I got this black poison wood is so pretty. Anyway, Blackjack. So, Blackjack, or 21, you may or may not be familiar with, is a casino game. And being a casino game, it is designed for the casino or the house or the dealer to make money and to take money away from players. This is actually one of the least profitable games for casinos in terms of odds of players being able to win money from them. And we'll talk about some of that later. So, what happens is you get cards, and the goal is to get to 21 or less and to do better than the dealer. So you have multiple players, but the players don't play against each other. They play against the dealer kind of simultaneously, or in turn, essentially. Each player takes a turn, and then the dealer goes, and then that round is done. And you either win or lose, or draw. Okay? So all of the cards have values, right? The 2 through 10s are as that many points. The face cards, Jack, Queens, and Kings, are also 10 points, and aces are either 1 or 11. They can be either, which is really cool. So if you're going to go over 21, obviously it'll be worth 1. If you're less than that, you probably want it to be worth 11. So your hand's value is the sum of the cards. You can keep drawing or hitting as often as you want, but once you go over 21, you have busted or you lost your money. You lost your bet. Okay? That's a hand. So once all the players have played, the dealer's turn, and that's their advantage. The players have to go first. So if a player busts, the dealer takes their money, even if the dealer goes and busts after. Okay? Because they get to go last. That's their advantage. That's why the casinos like this game. The dealer will always take cards until they have 17 or more. Once they have 17 or higher, they stop. Okay? Totally done. So if the player has an ace and a 10, that's a blackjack, they usually get a 50% bonus. So they'll get their bet plus 50% more. If they got over 21, they lose. If the dealer goes over 21, any player who is still in the game wins, or in that hand. If neither the player nor the dealer bust, whoever has the higher sum wins. Okay? If both players get a blackjack, or they both get the same number, it's a push or a tie, and you just get your bet back. You don't win any money, you don't lose any money. Okay? Lots of other variations. We're just going to try and be the most boring version we can. Okay? So, things that you can do while playing. You can hit or take another card. So we'll show the user their cards. Right? Well, will be for 1 to 4 players. So, like, we'll have a starting scene that says, hey, how many people want to play? We'll put that scene on the stage. We'll pick how many people want to play, and then we'll load the next scene, which is the game scene, where we can have people playing here. We don't need that link. Okay, it'll turn on later. Just start players with $100, at least a $1 bet, but you can bet more than $1 if you want. And they're out of the game when they run out of money. If all the players run out of money, the game's over, and the dealer never runs out of money. Right? They can just forever. Right? They're the house. We're going to have 6 decks all shuffled together in the dealer's shoe. The idea here is that you shuffle 6 decks of cards together, and the dealer will use those cards to play the game. And they'll deal them out, 2 to every player, 2 to the dealer, but you only see 1 of the dealer cards. So what happens is you see all the players' cards, and you see 1 of the dealer's 2 cards. Okay, so you have to make a decision based on the card that you see that the dealer has, whether or not you want more cards or not. You can hit, you can stand, you can double down, or you can split. So you may only split if your two cards are the same face. So 2 10s, 2 jacks, 2 queens, 2 kings, 2 aces, and then 2 through the other numbered cards. It says in here, weirdly, that the other cards could be matched, 10 value cards. I think only when they're identical, you should be able to split, but well, I guess that's different. It's just easier for us if you just say, hey, if your face is the same, that's fine. It's like you can split a 10-10, but you can't split a 10-king. Whatever. Usually, sure. I guess Wikipedia knows more than I do. It's okay. And then what you do when you split is you make a second bet equal to your first bet, and now you have 2 different hands that you're playing, and each hand can win or lose independently of the other, which is fun. Okay. Doubling down is saying you will double your bet, and you will get 1 card more. You can't get any more than that. Okay, that's a double down. So you're doubling your bet in exchange for 1 more card, and then your turn is done. Okay. Hit is take another card. Stand means you're done. You want to stay where you are, and then you stop. Right, and then you just wait to see what happens with the dealer. Okay, we're not going to deal with surrender. Don't worry about that. We don't have to do anything with that. Insurance, don't worry anything about that either. No big deal. Other things here are interesting. So the house advantage with 8 decks, they have it's about a 2/3 advantage in the game for winning here when they play with 8 decks in the shoe. We're going to play with 6 decks in the shoe. And the idea is you don't reshuffle. You don't put all 6 decks back until you are less than, say, about 30 cards or so. And this is variable, depends on the casino. Some, they'll just eyeball it. Some they have a certain rule. Doesn't matter too much about it. But this is important for later. Okay, so we're going to play with all 6 decks until we get down to about 30 cards or so. So don't start a new round where you deal cards out to players and the dealer if you have less than 30 cards. Okay, if you have more than 30 cards, 30 or more, great, you can start the round because we're only playing with 4 players. So if they each get a bunch of cards, we should be fine. Right? The odds of you getting more than 5 cards are really low. So if all 4 players get that's 20 cards, then you should be fine. We should have enough. But you don't want to run out. That's really bad form to run out. So you always have some cards left when you reshuffle. Okay. The game should keep a count of the cards played. So this is card counting. This is one example of card counting. And what card counting does, there's a whole section here in Wikipedia about it. Where is it here? Here, counting cards. You are tracking which cards have yet to be dealt in the shoe. And what you do, typically, is you will make larger bets when you have an advantage. If you know there are more aces and 10s left in the deck, you have a greater chance of getting a blackjack, which pays out 3-2. So you want to bet more money. So if you do this right, you can get up to a 2% edge on the house. The problem is, while it is legal, they will kick you out. Right? They don't want people getting an advantage in their game that's supposed to make them money. Turns out casinos don't exist to pay people money and give out money. Right? Their whole goal is to take your money. Go figure. I mean, sure, it's an entertainment expenditure. Go into it knowing how much money you're going to lose, and you'll be fine. You don't go to a casino expecting to win money, right? Don't be stupid. Okay, that's not how it works. Casinos exist because they take people's money. Right? If they didn't, they wouldn't be around. Okay. Ooh, a shuffling machine. Ooh, that's gross. That's no fun. Then you can't card count as well. Okay. This is a strategy sheet. This is your basic strategy. So based on what card you can see that the dealer has and what total you have, we should do certain things. We should either stand, hit, double down or hit, or surrender, but we're not going to surrender. So don't worry about the U's. We're not going to surrender. We'll just hit for the H's or stand for the S's. Okay. So depending on what card the dealer has and what you have, this is what is recommended. This is the mathematical least losing approach if you follow this strategy here. And that's without card counting. Okay. So depending on, right, the house is still between 0.5% and 1% of an edge here. So the more people play, the more money they make, essentially. So what we're going to do, we're going to try and count cards for players to give them an edge. So we'll be tracking the count and showing that to the player so that they can make larger bets when the count is in their favor. And this is a typical easy thing. You add a point for cards 2 through 6, nothing for 7 through 9, and you take away a point for cards that are 10 through ace. So the more 2 through 6s you've seen and the less 10 through aces, the higher the count is going to be. And the higher the count is, it means there's more of these cards left in the deck. Because remember, 10s are worth 10, jacks, queens, and kings. So 4 out of the 13 face cards are worth 10 points. So 4 out of 13 is about 30%. I had it wrong earlier and I kept saying the wrong number, but it's about 30%. So 30% of the cards are already a 10-point value. Okay, add in aces, that's 5 out of 13. Those are really good cards. Now the downside is the dealer could also get really good cards, but so could you. Right, so the chance of getting a blackjack is increased when there are more 10-point cards and aces out there. Okay, it's not perfect, and you could do a different style of counting if you want. You could count individual cards perfectly, like because we're using a computer here. Now, what is not legal, any licensed blackjack card game, it is illegal to use an external device to count cards. Good thing we're not actually gambling anything. We're just having some fun building a little toy program. No one's actually spending any real money on this, okay? So don't worry. So we're not actually doing anything illegal because it's not a licensed blackjack card game. Okay? Don't worry about that. Don't take it to a casino with you. Right? Hopefully that was obvious. All right. All right, so let's build out the rubric here. I think I've got, oh, I didn't even add it yet. Shoot, okay. I need to add the rubric here for you folks. Let's add this in here. We'll make a new rubric. This is blackjack. Okay, we'll take out these obnoxious categories here. All right, how you folks feeling so far? You think this is doable in a month? Maybe we got a month's worth of time for this. 4 weeks, right? Complete. I guess not an entire month, but 4 weeks to get this done. I know you have final exams and other things going on, but you don't have a final for this class. So thankfully you can spend all that time you would have spent studying on your final project here and go to study group, right? Meets Tuesdays and Thursdays 4 to 5 and Wednesdays 6 to 7. So go to study group, talk with your fellow classmates. You are welcome to talk design on the final project or even find a partner to work with who might also attend study group, okay? Talking design is perfectly fine. If you start sharing code, I'm going to say you've gone too far. Is that fair? Right? Like, don't share code with other people in study group, but you can talk about your design, talk about ideas, how you might design your methods, classes you might have, that sort of thing. Okay? So, let's say, let's do 5 points here. We're going to do 5 categories. So this is overall, object-oriented, 1R there, right? Oriented design. These classes for the game logic. So we'll talk more about this, but the idea here is we don't want everything to happen inside a button-clicked handler, right? Like, this is not the place to have all of your blackjack logic. Okay? You don't want everything happening in one method here. You want to build a blackjack game class that you can interact with that has public methods for like player action or dealer or whatever happens, right? You can get all the results and we can tell it, hey, this is what we want to do. So when I click the hit button, it will tell the game class, hey, player 1 wants to hit, or player 2 wants to hit, or player 3 wants to hit, or player 4 wants to hit, whatever it is here, right? And then the game logic class will do that sort of thing, and then we can update the user interface to show what the result of that was. Okay, and we're going to get to graphics. We can even have pictures of cards showing instead of just text here. It's going to be prettier looking. Okay, than just plain old text stuff. So object-oriented design, 5 points for use of classes in the game logic. Okay, we are good there. 5 points for that. Right, and let's see. We want multiple 1 to 4 players allowed, each with starting money, and players are moved when they run out of money. Right, so if the player runs out of money, stop asking them what they want to do. Like, take them out of the user interface. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Okay, points for that. Overall game function, right? Hit, stand, double down, split, dealer logic, all that sort of stuff, right? 5 points for having the game functioning properly. So if the game is crap and doesn't actually work, the most you're going to lose is 5 points there, as long as these other things are in place here. Okay. Oh, and I'm sorry, I missed this. A save and load game feature. So you need to be able to save your game, which saves the state of each player and the dealer and the deck, right? All of that needs to be written out to a file. I would strongly recommend you use a binary formatted file. Right? Trying to put all of that in as text data and then read out a text file. It's doable, but it's probably going to be a lot more work than just saying, hey, this class is serializable, write it to disk. Boom. And want to load it from disk? Sure, load the class from disk. We're good to go. Right? That sort of thing. So if you have like a Blackjack class that has all those attributes and has all those things stored together, because that's, you know, the Blackjack game itself is a noun, and it might have attributes like a deck of cards, and it might have players with all the player attributes and those sorts of things. If everything is serializable down the chain, you just say, hey, serialize Blackjack to disk, done. That's it. You saved your file. Okay? So then save and load functionality. 5 points there. And one last one here is a separate starting screen for a scene, sorry, not screen, scene, C-E-N-E, for new game / load game, or new / load game, and game itself. Right, so we're going to have separate scenes. We'll talk more about that next week as well, how we can have a start screen, and then we send information to the next screen when we want to load that screen, and passing information back and forth between them. Right, it's not too bad. All right, so that's going to make up your 25 points there. This overall score thing is garbage. We're not English essays or anything like that, thank goodness. I can't get rid of it, though, which is obnoxious. Okay, there's our rubric. That's your 25 points. Your final project. This may be done in pairs. I should add that. May done in pairs. If you partner with someone. Okay. And you are going to submit the URL to your code on github.com. If you want to work with a partner, let me know and I can set up a repository for you that you both have access to, and you can both commit to it and pull from it. So it just takes a little bit of coordination. There's other tools and techniques and cool things you can do, like pull requests and branches, but we just haven't have time to do that. I'm sorry. But you can make it work. Or you could just email files back and forth like sad people. That also does work. Or use like a Google Drive or something, but we got lots of options. So, yeah, awesome. Save that, close it. All right, how you folks feeling tonight? Feeling good? Worried, nervous, fun? We're closing out the semester. Just can't wait to be done. Ready for summer. I know it feels like winter again, but, you know, it's okay. We'll get there. Other thoughts? All right, that's all I've got tonight. Again, we'll spend the next 2 weeks working through the rest of the GUI chapters. And then the second to last week, let me pull it up here, is a little bit of talk on design patterns. Nothing you'll need for the assignment, but it's cool things. They're nice to have in software and understand how these things work. All right, glad you're feeling all right. Thanks for chatting, by the way. It is kind of lonely to talk to the screen and have no one chat back at you. So, not lonely enough to make people turn on webcams on Zoom, though. I think that's just a horrible. No one wants that. And I have bad luck with Zoom. Like all the meetings I'm on, everything, my audio just gets like, and then jumps back up, and it's annoying. So. Yep, so 2 more weeks of GUI, design patterns, and then more final project work time, and then presenting on the 29th. And we're wrapping up the semester. It's been a lot of fun. Apologize for being slow on the grading. I'll be getting back to that. Finally starting to feel a little better again after that COVID shot, and, you know, just get to it. All right, well, it's been fun. Let's see who else out there that we could go pester on Twitch land. Let's see. Oh, Dr. Mick is still playing Skyrim. Let's go back there. I took my earlier class there, and he is still playing. That's fantastic. He's an amazing guy. Great advice and a great community, and he cares about your mental health, as do I. But he actually like understands that sort of stuff. I just know how to make computers go beep boop bop. All right, so we'll head over that way, say hi, and you folks have a great night. Find me in Discord, email me, call me, text me. Let me know what I can do to help, and go to study group. Folks, take care.